Yo, what is going on, you guys? So today I'm bringing guys episode 2 of our sports card talk show, and today I'm joined by three very special guests. We got cinematic sports cards from episode 1, and then we got two new guests. We got Pete Papas, also known as Graph on Instagram, and then we got Jack from Fractor app. So he actually has an app launching this month. It's called Fractor. So if you guys just want to go ahead, we can start by cinematic and go down to Pete and Jack. If you guys just want to give, I guess, a quick introduction to yourselves, and yeah.
All right, guys. I'm at Cinematic Sports Cards on Instagram and YouTube, and I was here in episode 1. So, like I said, my story started out with grading sports cards and just flipping those every month with a pretty low budget, which was kind of the play at the time. And I built up a pretty good collection. And me and Sports Card Invest buy cards with each other now, and just trying to scale up our collection and get more content out there. So yeah.
Ref
Jack,
star,
you
you could
start.
go.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go. What's going on, guys? I just want to thank you guys for letting me join this podcast. Glad to be here. So my name's Pete, also known as Graph. I'm pretty much a lifelong collector. I started right around 13 years ago. When I was probably in the fourth grade, that's when I really started getting into it. Started trading with my friends. Probably exchanged a couple of Greg Odens here and there, Kevin Durant's.
All right, cool. All right, my name's Jack Elman, known as also Fractor Elman. I'm also the CEO of a new app called Fractor app. But a little bit about how I got into this hobby. I've been collecting for almost 16 years. I took a hiatus for a while, but me and my dad started collecting when I was around 7, and I built up pretty crazy Kobe collection, probably over 40 to 50 Kobe autographs.
Dang.
And me and my dad hopped in when we were Syracuse fans. So when Carmelo got drafted, we made the mistake of taking all the Carmelo cards instead of the LeBron cards. So we had a box of Carmelo cards sitting there instead of LeBron. So we'd probably be retired if it was right now instead. But probably when the pandemic started again, I was buying a little bit before that, more of on the collecting side of Kobe. And then I saw the price jump, and it kept me intrigued, kept me in tune with it, and I started looking into more of. I sold some of my Kobe cards, took that money, and honestly, I loved Luca. I love his game, and I started buying his high end stuff. Kept Kobe on the side as like my good investments. Got into Luca, got into Zion, and honestly, I was buying Harden as well. As your sports card,
Yep.
you'll be shipping me that PSA 10 Harden refractor. But I just was always going. I was always a data guy, looking at how much a card sold for. So that's why I got into my app called Fractor, as it's similar to some of the apps that are out there right now. But what we differentiate is we're going on real time portfolio. Everything is moving on real time. As soon as the sale is done, we'll be tracking it. And I've been in the works with it for around 8 months now. And we'll be launching our first beta in the beginning of April. So, yeah, it's an
Exciting,
introduction.
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So I guess tokening off of, I know you mentioned you kind of got in with the autograph market, and currently I know the autograph market is something that's been on fire for Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. However, we've yet to see it really trickle down to the Stephs, the Shaqs. A lot of Kareem's autographs are very cheap right now. When Kobe's same 2012 Prism auto could be upwards of $10,000. So I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on where you see, I guess, the autograph market going for other players. I know Kobe's autograph market is extremely, I guess, experienced at this
Yeah,
point.
I would say Kobe's the exception, as obviously he's not here right now.
Mhm.
Um, Michael Jordan, I think his market is going to explode in autos. I think that hasn't even scratched the surface. LeBron, but I do see the biggest market exploding is Luca. because we don't know if he's going to sign again. I think that his market, his rookie cards, his autos, his contenders, his national treasures, like his prices for his autos all make sense to me, because if he doesn't sign again, the demand is going to be very high. I do think that Harden and Curry, that their autos are still undervalued as I'm looking at some of these guys, because when it's all said and done, I see those two guys being in the talks. But I do think that the auto market hasn't yet scratched the surface yet to necessarily the prism and the color market.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
So when you say the price of Luca, right? Do you think that $4.6 million logo man was, a fair buy too?
I mean, I think that buy is like, I mean, it's that card is like whatever a buyer's willing to pay.
Right.
And I think that if that card is 4.6, then there's got to be a Jordan out there that's going to be worth a lot more than that.
Yeah.
There's got to be a Kobe out there that's worth a lot more than that.
Right.
But said and done, what happens if Luka doesn't sign again for the rest of his career? What is that card worth?
True. It also depends on how his career pans out too, right?
Exactly. Yeah, he's still mad young. Way too young to tell.
And also, I was gonna say, like, if that's the case, then a Jordan or LeBron, like a LeBron RPA should probably be like what, 7, 8, 9 million. You think, or no?
Logo man. Maybe.
Yeah. I really like to stick to like. Listen, I love Kobe autos and everything, and Jordan. I mean, he didn't sign his rookie year, but I love the fact that because it's Luka's rookie year, so
Right.
for that, it's super significant. For LeBron, I mean, I don't see his rookie autos not going anywhere from the prices you were just saying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I'm not a LeBron guy.
Right,
I'm not
right.
a LeBron guy at all. But as an investor, I mean, when you see the numbers that he's doing on his refractor, his Topps Chrome, then you start to look at his exquisite and stuff, and you start to question like the number difference there,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, me and Cinematic Sports Cards, we were kind of debating the other day whether we should go into a big Steph RPA. Considering his Topps Chrome's like through the roof, right? I think his refractor just sold. One of my friends sold it the other day for, I believe, 130 grand and a 10. So just considering like the crazy Topps Chrome prices, obviously it trickles down to Upper Deck Bowman. But regardless, the prices on Steph's cards in general, it makes no sense that, a very nice RPA of him can be a fraction of, the Chrome. So that's kind of where I'm really trying to educate myself recently. Really getting into the auto market. I did get a few, of course, Jordan autos, got a few Shaqs, got a few, like, just went lightly. However, I definitely think over the next few months, I definitely really want to go hard in, the auto market. And if obviously, Jack, you definitely have a lot of experience there, but yeah, I mean, I guess we're going to see kind of how the auto market pans out and because obviously the market right now is being pushed by these big investors, this institutionalized money. And it's going to be interesting to see whether they just stick to Chrome, Prism, what they're going for right now, or whether they really begin to expand into autos.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that the autos are even under the radar right now. Like, you would think the autos would be so much far more superior than the like Prism base and all that jazz. Like, you would think the autos would be way higher up than they are.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example. Like right here, I always have some of my nice cards sitting next to me. But like, look, a Michael Jordan, even though it's sticker, but it's his jersey number. It's a 23 of 23, 9.5, 10 out of. That card's not nearly $100,000 yet. And when you watch some of the other cards, you start to look and you're like, I mean, those stuff like the autos, you can't. They're harder to get because I mean they're the lower numbered cards, and I think that when you're saying the high um, institution money is going towards, let's say, the Jordan rookie and all that stuff. I think that when there's going to be more investors, they're going to be more educated. They're going to start to educate themselves more, especially with the correction from the 750 to the 450 on the Jordan. You're going to have to start to educate yourself a little bit. But when you were talking about the Curry, I personally think that Curry at 130 is a great buy. I mean, I'm also like kind of biased on that draft class, like Curry, Harden, like those guys, like their tops chrome. For me, like those are selling for more than most of the other guys, Durant, all those guys, because they're at a 500, and the grading on that card, the pop on it is way smaller, Harden and Curry. So I think that those two, in my opinion, I mean, I'm a James Harden guy, but I think he's the biggest buy in basketball, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, his run up over the last, I mean, you're saying he's a buy now, but like if you look at it 2 months ago, at least when I really started to look at Harden, his prices were, a fraction of what they are right now. And I definitely still see room for growth. I mean, Harden's, of course, people look at it, just comparing players, but that's really, I feel at this point in the market, you kind of got to dive deeper. You can look at Steph's tops rookie card going for twice, 3 times as much as LeBron's. Harden's going for as much as LeBron's. It is how many different investable rookie cards they have. Durant has a handful of them. I can name at least 10 investable rookie cards of him. Steph, there's not too many. LeBron, there's a lot. Harden, there's not too many. So it really depends on, the year and how many different investable rookie cards they have. And that's really going to dictate prices because everyone who wants to invest in Harden has to go for tops or tops chrome.
I think James Harden has a stigma against him. And now that it's starting to become, I don't care who Brooklyn got on their team now, Aldridge, Blake Griffin, those three would have won the title regardless. People can maybe give me hate for that, but Brooklyn, if you're looking at James Harden's numbers this year, what did he even put up tonight? What was like 38, 11, and like 13?
Yeah.
His numbers, like if he didn't have the whole stigma, when it's all said and done, better than Iverson, better than all those guys at the end of the day. And when you're talking about his autos in that year, like I have his exquisite, but it's him wearing an Arizona State jersey. There's not a lot of James Harden investment pieces other than his chrome, his Bowman. He doesn't have that many rookie cards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he just got to add that ring to his resume, and his prices will definitely take up.
I feel like that's what's holding back a lot of players right now. Like Russell Westbrook, there's a handful of them that are, they're there in terms of their game. They're putting up all these stats.
Russ.
Bradley Beal, but like they haven't yet win. And right now, the thing is, you can name 20 plus players who are putting up the stats. However, there's only a select few who are.
Yeah, Russell Westbrook is that guy. If you want to talk stats, 3 triple doubles.
Yeah,
3 years in a row.
Tonight.
And his numbers this year, he's close to a triple double.
I mean, even today, he was what, like 35 points 30, and 21 assists, I think.
10. He was the first 30, 20, 10 player in NBA history.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just kind of wild to see, how the market thinks. Because Trae Young too, he's another guy. He's a young star who's putting up crazy numbers. Of course, modern, you have to think very differently because, pop counts are really going to play into account. The demand has to be incredibly high for the prices to sustain, especially on his prism and optic. But in general, if you're looking long term, if these young guys do pan out, and keep in mind, we've been very lucky to have 3 decades in a row with Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. It's not guaranteed that there is going to be another one to reach their level this decade. But, if it turns out to be one of these guys, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out long term with, these crazy pop counts.
We were very spoiled on Jordan,
I know,
Kobe, LeBron, very spoiled. But at the same time, like I think that it puts like a dark cloud over Luka, Zion, Giannis. Because, I mean, if you look at Zion's numbers this year, they're absolutely incredible. Yeah, because he had the hype, but how has he not lived up to the hype? His team sucks. The guy's averaging 26 points a game. His field goal percentage is insane. What were LeBron's numbers his second season?
Not as good as Zion's.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
probably not that
Zion.
great.
Well, everybody keeps saying about, oh, he's too heavy, he might get injured. Any player can get injured at any moment in your career. Any, people say Luka, you look at Derrick Rose. You can't predict anything. I mean, this one guy could tear his ACL tomorrow and he could be done. Any player. So, I mean, in this present moment now, I think that Zion's rare, his colored prisms, his blue, his cracked ice. I think that Zion is still a big play. I think he's a huge play, actually.
I agree. For sure.
With
For Grafstar, I know I was dealing with some Kawhis with you a while ago, I believe. I was looking through our old messages. So
Yeah.
Kawhi is one guy who me and Cinematic have both kind of looked at recently, just because he only really has one investable rookie card. He's just a fraction the price of Kawhi, I think, or Kevin Durant. I think his Prism PSA 10's at around 2,500 right now, which in my eyes, considering the low population on that card, considering he's that's really his only investable card, and it's sitting at a fourth the price of Kevin Durant, of course, like an eighth the price of LeBron, maybe even a tenth the price of LeBron. I mean, do you still? Firstly, I guess do you still have that card? Secondly,
I don't have that card, but I bought another one recently. I fortunately made a profit on that one. But I still think Kawhi is a great buy also. The Clippers just got to get over that hump. Paul George just needs to show up in the playoffs. And if Kawhi can, say, win a ring with his third team, like that price can definitely be
third finals MVP on his third team, that would be crazy. I also think, one thing that really makes me confident in the Clippers is, at the end of the day, it's all about expectations, right? In the stock market, it's all about what are the expectations that this company performs, and if they exceed the expectations, prices go up. If they, of course, don't meet their expectations, prices go down. And the Clippers' expectations this season, are set quite low, I feel. Considering obviously last season they had, bad turnout in the bubble. So considering their expectations are sitting quite low, I think if they can make it into the conference finals, you could see a crazy big return on that Kawhi. I think we saw it go up to around 5,000 in the bubble last year. I think if the Clippers, can win that first round, start to, if they have some great showings, if Kawhi has some great showings, I definitely see, I guess, short-term value there and long-term. I mean, I feel like Kevin Durant and Kawhi's resumes are fairly similar. Both have, 2 Finals MVPs, 2 rings, yet Kevin Durant is just so much higher right now. And I understand a lot of it is because the Nets are, I guess you could say clear-cut favorites right now, or at least favorites right now.
I wouldn't say that that's the reason, though, why Kevin Durant's more than Kawhi. And listen, Kawhi's a great basketball player, but
personality.
So is Tim Duncan. At the end of the day, how long did it take Tim Duncan to get his love on the cards? And did he get that much love? Kawhi just doesn't have the pizzazz, he doesn't have the hobby love. And at the end of the day, Kevin Durant, while his cards are going to hold more value, is he's an investor in the card space. He invested in Golden. He is investing in numerous companies. He stays culturally relevant. He talks. So Kevin Durant is more of an icon. His shoes, it's just more of, you look at it. Listen, I'm not knocking Kawhi Leonard's game. Kawhi Leonard's awesome. But at the end of the day, if he didn't play in the Clippers market, no one would really care for him that much. He gets on the mic. He doesn't speak that much. He doesn't, and that's great being humble, but the hobby likes excitement.
100%.
But I do feel like the hobby, in a sense, they do shift their thought process quite a few times.
Listen, you can't go wrong. You're not
like
going to
Harden's,
lose.
Yeah. I mean, Harden's stigma, I feel, was, at first, in March, there was this whole stigma that no one likes centers and power forwards because they weren't fun to watch. And that changed. That thought process changed. And I do think if Kawhi is winning, regardless, there's going to be a lot of attention there. There's going to be a lot of hype there in the short term. Long term, once he retires, we might see him just, we might never hear from him again. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out long term. But I think for the short term, a lot of attention in LA, of course. And regardless, if he's winning, if people see opportunity, I think that alone can push the prices up. Of course, it's never going to reach a level of a player with charisma such as Steph or LeBron, but I
So
definitely still see a lot of opportunity.
there's the problem where like with James Harden, and I'm not even talking biased on it. People were saying he couldn't win in the playoffs, this and that, but he played in the West with one of the best teams of all time, the Warriors, and a team got broken up that he got traded from on the Thunder. He made it to the championship. So I think, let's say, I mean, Brooklyn might not win, but let's say the team that they have, they can end up winning 2 to 3 championships. Let's say James Harden retires his career with 2 championships. Where does he rank all time?
I would honestly say he could crack that top 20. At this point, he's already one of the best scorers of all time, in my opinion. No one's ever put up the stats really he has. So if he can win too, I mean, I think he could crack top 20, top 15, depending. I think if he can crack 3, he could possibly enter the It really depends, though. The thing is, the Nets have 3 stars, right? 3 real superstars.
But they're playing with 2 stars right now.
Yeah, but if they do go on a 2 championship run, it kind of depends if Harden's the main guy, the second guy, the third guy, how that kind of plays out. I think that's going to be big. If he's obviously the first guy leading their team to 2 championships, yeah, I mean, we could possibly see him crack, like, in my opinion, top 15. Yet if he is kind of the second guy, we look at Dwayne Wade, right? Miami was his team. He pretty much led. Shaq had some help, 2006, but he pretty much led that Miami Heat team to a championship. And then when LeBron came, they won 2 more. And he still doesn't quite receive, the recognition. And he's loved in Miami. So it really does kind of depend how that plays out. Obviously, Brooklyn is a huge market. New York in general, media, everything. That's going to be huge for, I think, Harden's market in general. But, I mean, it's really going to be interesting to see how the dynamic works when everyone's healthy, when Kevin Durant is back. Of course, then you have to share the ball. They have Blake Griffin now, LaMarcus Aldridge, just so many different pieces. And it's going to be I'm very excited to kind of see how that all plays out in terms of just, like, stats, who's getting, if they can play together. But
I was going to say I mean, for James Harden to crack, these top 20 or top 10, I think he's going to have to be one of the top guys in these championships because, if he's putting up 30, 10, and 5, let's say, and during the finals and he wins, like that's his finals average or something through like 2 or 3 championship wins, then yeah, people will see that and think, this guy's cracked it, whatever. But if he's putting up kind of like average numbers whenever Kevin Durant comes back, because I assume Kevin Durant hopefully is there for the playoffs, just so we can see how their team actually is. Yeah, but, with Kevin Durant coming back, I'm not sure that James Harden can play at, some superstar numbers-wise, right, level. Yeah. So, that's where I
think he's going to be the facilitator. I think James Harden, if they win, will be the NBA Finals MVP. He'll be the facilitator. I think Kyrie, Durant, and Harden are all going to serve some value, but I see Harden is that middle guy. Like he's going to be bringing the ball up.
Yeah, you can already see that's the role he's taken on for sure. He's the playmaker. He's the floor general. Like
Kyrie looks cool with it. I mean, they look great together. I mean, they look like they both understand their role.
Yeah. I was gonna say like how LeBron was to the Cavs. Obviously James Harden has more help, but let's just say without Kevin Durant right now, he's putting up these like monster numbers. Even with Kyrie there, putting in a lot of help too. But how LeBron was to those early day Cavs, James Harden is putting up those similar type numbers, right? But if Kevin Durant were to come back, obviously that superstar level would kind of trickle down to him too, because Kevin Durant's gonna have the ball too and probably take some of those points away from Harden, right? Yeah. And one thing we look at is like scoring too when it comes to cracking these top lists in general, right? So that's just why I would be hesitant to see James Harden, crack these top 10, top 20 levels because we never
I
looked
really
at James
think
Harden in that
long
light,
term,
right?
yeah. I mean, I just think long term, when people look back on this Nets championship run, say they win it, I think what people are really going to look back on is Finals MVP. And we've seen that happen countless
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
That kind of becomes the
But
conversation.
at the end of the day, do they though? I mean, Andre Iguodala was
Yeah,
NBA Finals MVP.
but we really remember him from 2015. Like we talk about that still to this day. If he didn't win Finals MVP, if they give it to Steph, would we still recognize Andre Iguodala's,
No, you're right.
defense on his play,
And
right?
other than getting
So
blocked,
that's
yeah.
really, yeah. But I think that was, yeah. But either way, I mean, I definitely think over time, Finals MVP is kind of what people tend to remember, and it's going to be kind of interesting because my personal opinion, I still have KD the number one. Of course, he's injured, and when KD is healthy, if he's really is healthy, he's the sniper who can pretty much take over any game at any time. But again, Kyrie's shown before that he can do that as well. Harden, of course, can do that as well. So I know we haven't seen them play much at all, like as a trio. But if they manage to, I guess, I get my only concern is, especially when Harden first got traded, I was just like, are they going to get along? How is this going to work? Like who's going to be taking the ball? Because everyone has to like take a, cut of their share.
Who's taking the last shot? Basically.
Yeah, who's taking the last shot? Who's bringing the ball up? Who's facilitating the offense? Are Kyrie and KD cool with Harden facilitating the offense, getting the credit? Because that seems to be, at least from Kyrie and KD's background, I guess, they've really tried to step up in those situations. Of course, Kyrie took that big shot in 2016. So that's personally where I'm really watching, and I think the card prices of Kyrie, Harden, and KD will all benefit, of course, because they're on the same team and they're championship favorites. However, I think the guys who get the biggest increases are just, and it's going to fluctuate, right? Few games we may see KD take over, score 40 points. Few games we might see Kyrie take over. Few games we might see Harden take over. And so those are kind of the selling opportunities I'm thinking of in my head when sitting on these three players' cards. It's like, when Harden has those big games and everyone assumes he's going to be the Finals MVP, that may be a good time to sell Harden, because the next game you could have Kyrie coming in for a big 40-point game, and that might be a good time to sell Kyrie. So just looking at it from a card standpoint, you don't have to, wait till after the finals to sell. You can sell when one player has a big game, when one player, seems to be the favorite at the moment.
Usually you'll get your best prices when you sell on the hype. Right when the playoffs start,
for sure.
Especially with a team like that whose expectations are already super high. Like everybody already knows.
A lot of people want to gamble. They want to squeeze that extra $5,000 to $10,000. But if you could take your safe investment and sell it, if you're in your Durant refractors for like, I don't know, I bought in the beginning of the season, so $7,000, whatever, and I could flip it for X amount, like. Make your ROI, make your money. And like it's the same with like Brooklyn is at the same point where it's like with LeBron last year. If they win, I don't see the prices going up that much more.
I feel like
same with Mahomes. I mean, when Mahomes was in the Super Bowl, Mahomes won, but his cards have gone up that much. But Durant has taken a dip recently. So I mean, if he starts playing and he starts rocking and rolling, I mean, then we could see.
Yeah, he's the hardest guy on the market by far right now, right?
Oh yeah. He has been for. I think Harden's now recently getting a lot more recognition than his cards have ever got.
Hard to find his cards though.
Yeah,
Harden's.
I mean, the market's extremely tough on those, but I think in general, that people are going to be setting their own price points on Harden this playoffs, and that's what's really interesting to me. Like, if somebody puts that Harden refractor, right? It's pop 24. If you post that thing for $100K in the peak of the hype, you might have a buyer. No one knows what the market price is. One has not sold in so long. Most people are holding. Like, you have no idea where to price it at. And if all you need is one buyer who's willing to pay that, thinks it's worth that, and that's your sale.
I mean,
those cards are, and that's where the auto market, right? The auto market, that's purely just, a lot of cards out of 20 out of 99.
I think
what I look on eBay is like there's two cards on eBay, which I'll give you guys. You guys might snatch it off after, but like there's his gold refractors on eBay that are priced at 100,000. They were priced last week at 60. Now they're at 100,000 on a buy it now. Someone has a PSA 10 up for 100 grand. The gold, Curry's gold refractor sold for like, what was it, like 160, 170?
I'm not sure.
I believe so. Yep.
So,
Around there.
and I'm not saying Harden's Curry, but when the hype comes, people, they get FOMO. Someone wants to make that big purchase. You see the card, you get the quick fingers. And the Dallas show is in May. Playoffs get close, so you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Pete, I see you wearing that Milwaukee Bucks hat, right?
No, it's a Celtics hat.
Celtics. Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
My bad. Look like
You
Bucks
from Boston?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm New York.
I think Tatum's super undervalued right now too, for sure. I mean,
They're
that's
not winning
probably
though right now. I
that's
know,
probably
yeah.
a high take, but like, obviously his prices went down because Jaylen Brown was playing at such a high level. Like, I don't think Jaylen Brown's really gonna keep that up. To be honest, I don't know.
My question to you on Tatum is: do you think Tatum has that it factor? Like he looks soft to me. Like he's.
Really think?
I
don't
just
know.
think.
I think he does have that it factor. To be honest, they just
But
need a
when
big
is it gonna
presence in
be?
the post.
And I think he's super talented. Like they need a big man. They got to get Kemba off that team.
Yeah, they were sleeping at the deadline, no doubt.
Like, I mean,
if they landed Drummond, I think that could have been really interesting.
Yeah, for
But
sure. I would have loved that.
I mean, the point, it's just like, sorry, go.
You're good. No, I was just going to say, I think that we saw a little bit from Tatum when obviously they faced the Cavs, they faced LeBron. I think that went game 7 to like the final minute. Like, Tatum was showing out.
Yeah, that was basically single-handedly Tatum, Brown, and Rozier, and that was all at the beginning of their careers. So like, I think he does have that if factor. I really do. I just think he needs some backup to him. Like
the question,
a big presence in the post is really the main thing they need right now.
The question is, why is he so undervalued, in my opinion? Because it becomes like he's in the same draft class as Donnie Mitchell. How many points is Tatum averaging this year? Donnie Mitchell's averaging what, like 25? I think.
Tatum's definitely averaging like 26, I think.
Here, I'll look real quick.
So, and I think Tatum's a better player than Donovan Mitchell. I think he's definitely a better player.
He's on the first team.
But I just think it's like there's going to come a point where like Tatum's had those good teams. Like, when are you going to necessarily spark it? Because I mean, like, look at Giannis. I love Giannis. I mean, I just want him to be traded. That's it.
Yeah, so Tatum averages 25.1 and Mitchell averages 25.9.
Oh, really? Mitchell averages more.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
Less than a point more, yeah.
Like, and look at the records of compared teams.
Right.
And what was the projected of Boston compared to Utah before the season started?
Definitely have higher expectations, no doubt.
Boston does, and I think part of it, of course, is they were, I think, out for a little bit. Of course, Tatum was out for a while. But in general, I think, the Celtics have never really been able to get over that hump into the finals, which is what, in my opinion, I've got a list of players that I just feel, if they can somehow get traded, get to a team that's winning, gets another piece, with them, their prices can absolutely take off. Tatum's kind of in that boat for me. Westbrook's, of course, in that boat. Bradley Beal. There's kind of those level players where it's just like, they have to win. Everyone knows they're going to put up these stats. Their prices reflect the stats, right?
Yeah. Westbrook's on a different level, though, than those guys. Like, I'm a huge Russell Westbrook guy. I love, like...
He's not a
all
winner.
Time. No, yeah, he can't win. And I'm finally saying it because I was so Russell Westbrook. And it's just like, but when you look at his numbers, I mean, they're insane. Like, if you look... If a guy was like, if a kid in 20 years was going and they were looking at Russell Westbrook's numbers, they would be like, this guy's one of the greatest players of all time.
For sure. First glance, he is that type player, no doubt.
But I mean,
but what really seems to be remembered long term is winning, and that's what people kind of have realized, right? I mean, winning.
The 3-1.
Yeah.
The 3-1 against Golden State. They blew it, but Durant
Great series,
abandoned
man.
them. I wish
That was
Durant
amazing
stayed.
series.
I
Bro,
wish
if the
he.
card market was in the spot it's in right now with that Warriors Cavs series, that'd have been the most interesting like
That would have been
turn of
perfect.
events, swing of events. Like
You
everyone
think Klay Thompson would have been getting love on his cards though?
for sure,
So
100%.
do I.
Clay's,
And
you
he's
know, a
getting
fan.
I mean, his cards are at like a all-time high right now. Okay.
Reminds me of that Dennis Rodman. I think
Okay.
30 years from
Dude,
now,
I
there's going to
hate
be a
him.
documentary about the Warriors, and Draymond's gonna. He's that guy. He was the face of our team for. Obviously, I'm from the Bay, so I love Draymond and everything. But speaking unbiasedly, like he has been so crucial to the Warriors' success. And if there's ever a documentary about that Warriors team, which I'm 100% sure there will be, the card market is in a good spot at that time. Draymond will get love. His cards are super low pop. His PSA 10s, I believe, are under $200. And Clay's, you know, of course, people look for the stats. I totally understand it. But Draymond's still going to be remembered. He was still an all-star. He's still, you know, one of the most memorable faces in the NBA, I would say.
One of the best defensive players of all time.
One of the best defensive players, one of the most controversial, a guy who gets out there, speaks his mind. He's going to be relevant for a long time, in my opinion. You know, he could be a TV guy after. I'm not exactly sure. But regardless, you know, I think he's a good play right now. He's going under, of course, everyone's radar. If the Warriors ever do get back into a position similar, a championship run, a playoff run, you know, Draymond plays his best when the team is, you know, kind of there and they're going to win. So
Yeah, he's a player you love to have on your team, and if you don't have him,
Hate
you
the
absolutely
plan.
hate him. But like
Yeah.
that's just who he is.
Yeah, for sure. Before I cut out for like a few seconds, but I was saying you guys were talking about Klay Thompson's cards getting love. Like I actually bought a 2012 Prism PSA 10 Klay Thompson at like $400, and then when he was expected to come back, they were hovering around like 8 or 900. Then he got injured, and then the card market blew up. Then his cards went to $1,400. Obviously, they've cooled down a little bit, but you know it's crazy that even Klay Thompson, who at the time is still injured for the whole season, is still at an all-time high.
Yeah, it just
Which-
shows you where the
card
card
market.
really
I
is.
think
Yeah.
that because the
Yeah.
Warriors have a lot of hype for next year, right? They're supposed to be like
Yeah.
very, very
Yeah.
legit.
But it's hard. I would feel very nervous placing a bet on someone who hasn't played in 2 years. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just being honest. No matter, I understand he's a catch and shoot player. The Warriors could very well be back in that position. It blows my mind that people are still paying $1,300 for someone who's, firstly, it's gonna be a while before you see a return on your investment. Secondly, you know, his card's already kind of priced in that he's gonna return healthy and good and back to his normal self.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't think
So
For sure, no doubt.
Yeah, I don't think
you guys were saying a buy, sell, hold. Like, what are your buy, sell, and
Yeah,
hold?
so I had Westbrook as my first on the buy, sell, hold. And obviously for me, I think I've already probably mentioned this. He would be a sell for me personally. You know, I feel like the only way he goes up at this point is that he wins. His prices already kind of reflect his stats. So that was my personal opinion. Of course, the Wizards, they may try to make moves. I'm not exactly sure. Bradley Beal's been in trade rumors, and of course, if Beal leaves, I think Westbrook will too. But you know, I just think it's going to be a while before if we ever see Westbrook winning, because the league's kind of set up right now to where, you know, you get pretty much the biggest contracts and most money when you put up those stats. And I'm not exactly sure if we've seen Westbrook willing to, of course, in Houston, you know, he wasn't happy when, you know, he was sharing the ball with Harden. You know, they never really got back to where they were, especially when it was Chris Paul and Harden. They were much more successful. So, me personally, I'm placing Westbrook as a sell.
Yeah, he's a sell
Yeah.
for me as well. Time is definitely winding down for him, and he hasn't won yet. I don't really see him winning in the future either.
same.
So his how long? Like, are we talking long term, or are we talking like just right?
And
Like,
yeah, I mean,
but-
short, long, whichever.
And if he couldn't do it with KD, like who can he do it with? Like he just doesn't seem like a guy like a a team can get along with. To be
I
honest.
think long term in this market, he's a buy. If anybody in this market is buying Ja Morant, then how can you not spend money on Russell Westbrook? There is no way in Ja Morant's career he might even be close to Russell Westbrook.
I think
Stats wise, no, but he I feel like he already has the leadership that Russ didn't have.
for that, I think I would say that Ja Morant still has that potential that people, he could have a better team in the future,
it's
or
all speculation nowadays. It
like
Yeah, I
with
feel
Russell
like,
Westbrook, they're not going to expect him to do much better than he is now, and we've already seen him, throughout his
long
career.
term, though, Westbrook's likely going to play out better than West. I mean,
That's what I'm
Westbrook's going
saying.
to play. Yeah,
Oh,
long
okay,
term.
okay. I was saying like why Ja
Oh,
Morant.
short
short term.
term,
I mean, short term Ja, obviously.
Yeah.
But like
I think
you
we're on
see
the
the
same
guys starting to get love that weren't getting love, like Melo,
Mhm.
McGrady, like these guys. Even Pau Gasol's card sold for Iverson. So it's like, I mean, listen, don't get me wrong, Iverson better than Westbrook, but at the end of the day, Westbrook's longevity compared to Iverson's is way better numbers. I mean, if you look at his end of his career numbers compared to Iverson's, I mean, is Iverson that much better of a player than Russell Westbrook all
I feel
time?
like it was also that
It was
polarizing
also-
aspect, right? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Iverson was loved by a whole generation. I'm not saying Westbrook isn't. Westbrook has a core fan base. I feel like nowadays, I think Cinematic mentioned this in our last episode, like players build their own brands in a sense. It's no longer even the market, right? It's players build up their own brands via social media, their own fan bases. Long term, it's going to be very interesting to see because these players right now, like players in the past generations, didn't really have social media for the new generations to be informed, to keep up with these guys. But now, you got Westbrook with, I believe, like 20 million Instagram followers. Long term, he's going to have those followers plus more and, going to be relevant via social media at least, right? So that's definitely a place that I see opportunity in the very popular players like Westbrook is. He's one of the most followed on Instagram. He's, of course, one of the most, he was a very polarizing athlete. I know many people I can name who swear their favorite player is Westbrook.
Oh, yeah.
So I think long term it could play out. He has a low population. However, for short term, that's personally what I took when I answered this question. I would say he's, sell in the short term, but he'll always be the triple double king. He's always going to have that fan base, and I definitely can see long term demand on his cards.
Would you also say sell because he wouldn't take a picture with you?
Yeah, maybe.
No, I'm just
I'm
kidding.
not biased when I say that, but
Did you like that?
what? Twice?
He didn't?
Yeah, I think twice I've ran
Yeah,
into him and he was not having it. I think he said like, "Nah, man, I ain't about that." It's like, okay,
Damn.
but yeah, next on our list, I got LeBron. Biggest buy in my opinion.
Yeah,
lowest risk. I just picked up 3 Chrome 10s for LeBron. I've kind of gone all in. I told myself as soon as there's a next dip, I'm going in on those Topps Chromes. They fell extremely hard since his injury, since the whole market has kind of cooled down. I just think with Durant at like half his price, long term, I think it's going to be one of the most fractional ownership, centered cards. There's going to be everyone wants LeBron, and they're going to want a piece of that Topps Chrome PSA 10. I think it's going to be kind of the base stock for LeBron. People are going to buy in shares. So he's buy in my opinion.
100% same here. It'll definitely be one of the most iconic cards of all time.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you look at it technically, like LeBron still has the upside too because his card's at 45,000 at this, like the Jordan, Kobe, LeBron run up. His card, I made a video about this earlier, but I was looking at it, went from like 15,000 to 45,000 with no stops in between really, and so it makes sense that it would dip, but it dipped from 45 to 25, which is almost half. So it doesn't make sense from, in my opinion, that it would just drop, that much without rebounding even a little bit.
I think 35, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like LeBron. I feel like it all matters how much skin do you have in the game and how much are you willing your returns. Like if you're a flipper, like let's say you're a kid, you're a sneakerhead or something, you're just coming in and you need a quick return, you might not get that on LeBron right away. But if you're an investor and you sit back, I mean, how could you go? I don't like LeBron James. I don't like him at all. But how can you go wrong with investing in one of the best players of all time, who's going to be a billionaire at the end of his career, who's most likely going to play one season with his son if it all pans out. I mean,
possibly a movie star down the line.
Well,
Yeah.
we had
Hollywood.
Trainwreck and
Yeah,
Space
exactly.
Jam
Kind of
2
it.
coming out.
if he kept his political views a little bit out of his whole picture, his cards would be even higher. So I mean, but as an investor, how could you not invest in LeBron James? I mean, there's nothing.
It's going to be relevant. I think what really, Jordan's one of the funniest, of course, because he is, known as the GOAT generally, at least as of now, I personally feel. But, I think Jordan, he's really been out of touch, with the internet, with media, with everything, and his demand is still so hot. It's going to be very interesting to see if LeBron is that relevant long-term star, because keep in mind, opinions change. This generation that'll swear Jordan's the GOAT, they might not be there for this next generation, right? And when all the tension is on LeBron, if he's staying relevant, if he's a movie star, if Bronny's playing in the NBA, right? Whatever it is, if he is staying in the center of the spotlight, he can be argued as the GOAT. And long term, that Jordan generation kind of edges away. And I would say we're in the LeBron generation, and I think there could be a census at one point that LeBron is the GOAT. I'm not saying in terms of basketball or in terms of anything. I think in terms of the population's, thinking and whatever, there's already people who will say LeBron is the GOAT. But regardless, as generations go on, LeBron's, of course, extremely relevant, will always stay relevant, Instagram, everything. So that's going to be really interesting to see what happens. LeBron has, of course, many different rookie cards. His Topps Crumb's his most important rookie card. And I just think right now might be, this moment in time, in my eyes, could be the lowest we will ever see as Topps Chrome PSA 10. I can book that down right now. So we'll come back to this and see, but my personal opinion.
Yeah, I could totally see it too.
I don't think LeBron. My opinion with LeBron and Jordan, though, is we're looking in the NBA of this now. Every jersey that we're almost watching the NBA has the Jordan symbol on it. Michael Jordan is, in my opinion, in a different class than LeBron James if we're talking worldwide. We're talking like, at one point, Michael Jordan was one of they had him as like, I think it was like number 2 or 3 famous guys on the planet. So I just think that
and a lot of that happened. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No. All I'm saying is I think LeBron James, awesome basketball player, but I think that it's not a conversation. It's
game, no doubt.
Well, I think a lot of Jordan's legacy was actually built after his career. Of course, with Jordan Brand, with everything. And LeBron has the opportunity, he has the role model, he has everything to do the same, in my opinion, right? He has social media, which Jordan didn't really have. He has a lot more ways, movies, his son. He has so many different ways to reach that level icon that he may not be at right now. And I totally agree with you. Jordan is the next level icon at the moment. However, I definitely can see that one day changing. I'm not saying it definitely will, but LeBron has every opportunity and has, from what I can see, has every motivation to become that next icon.
I think
that Jordan was able to achieve.
I think
Jordan's been out of the spotlight achieving that.
Yeah, for sure. I think what he's trying to say though is when Jordan, my favorite player is LeBron, but what he's trying to say is Jordan kind of revolutionized basketball and just took it to a whole different level. Because at the time, I wasn't born. Obviously, I was, when Jordan was playing. But I think what everybody says, like Jordan, like everybody watched him. Everybody just, he was the guy apparently. And so, it's just like Michael Jordan was like God, and then there's the rest of these basketball players. And
listen, I was young for when Jordan came in as well, but at the same time, Jordan was like, there was only Magic, Bird, and those guys right before, and NBA was like a little like not like
relevant.
that popular at that time, and Jordan came in and just spiked it to a different level. I mean, the difference when I look at LeBron and Jordan is Michael Jordan, other than going to the Wizards at the end, was a Chicago Bull. Was a Chicago Bull for his whole career, never lost an NBA Finals. And I just never saw the complaining on the fouls and this. Like, he just had that. He won his championships, retired, came and won his other championships. Like, I don't know. When I look at this, when it's skill-wise, like Michael Jordan. When it's the most physical.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys would like to check out part 2, you can head over to Cinematic Sports Cards channel. The link will be in the description, so you can go ahead, subscribe to him so that you can catch part 2 when it does drop on his channel. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm out. Peace.